Thank you for joining the Daily Scripture Podcast. My name is Jerome Lavelle, and I hope that you are having a fulfilling day today. Today, we will be looking at Psalm 31, verses 1 through 5. In you, Lord, I have taken refuge. Let me never be put to shame. Deliver me in your righteousness. Turn your ear to me. Come quickly to my rescue. Be my rock of refuge, a strong fortress to save me. Since you are my rock and my fortress, for the sake of your name, lead and guide me. Keep me free from the trap that is set for me, for you are my refuge. Into your hands I commit my spirit. Deliver me, Lord, my faithful God. Today in the book of Psalms, chapter 31, verses 1 through 5, we hear the psalmist in complete trust and commitment, turning to God in a time of spiritual despair and asking God for safety and protection from enemies. At the beginning of this psalm, King David finds himself in some personal pit that he needs rescued from, and he turns himself over to God, crying out to him and taking refuge in him. Remember, a refuge is a safe place or shelter from pursuit, danger, or trouble. And so David is in trouble here in this psalm, and in that trouble, he cries out to God, "Turn your ear to me. Come to my rescue. Deliver me," he calls. Out, he speaks to God as his rock and fortress, and God rescues him. As I listen to this beautiful psalm, I ask myself, how many times do I find myself having feelings like David does today, saying to myself, "What have I done? How did this happen to me? I've gotten myself exactly where I did not want to be again." And then I ask myself, what leads me into my pits? Things I've done in relationships, terrible attitudes that I've taken, words that I have used, sins that I continue to turn to, destructive feelings that I encourage and nurture within myself. These and other things lead me to my pits. I take comfort in David's psalm today because he models the kind of crying out to God that I need when I am in that lowly state of seeking God as my refuge and rock, of going to him as my demons are chasing after me, pleading with him and clinging to him to save me in those moments. Today, David also asks God for his protection, saying, "Keep me free from the trap that is set for me." And here I see him indicating his trust in God as rock and fortress, signifying that God is always in rescue mode, and that the issue is not God, but us in finding our way onto that rock and keeping our feet firmly planted on the rock of God. In the last verse today we hear in this psalm, David completely abandons himself to God. He says, "Into your hands I commit my spirit." Those words might sound familiar. Those are the same words that Jesus uses on the cross as he turns over his life to the Father. "Into your hands I commit my spirit." And to me, this abandoning of self is a major takeaway from the psalm. It's something I'm hearing and focusing on because it's in abandoning ourselves that we become empty of the me and filled with the He. Let me say that again. In abandoning ourselves to God, we become empty of the me and filled with the He. And when filled with the He, our feet are on that rock. Our backs are within that protective fortress. And as such, we can avoid that which drags us into the pits of our lives. Today, the 31st Psalm tells us that when we are in those pits in our lives, that we are to cry out to God for rescue, imploring Him in His righteousness and mercy to save us. And this is right and true and just. But we also hear of King David's abandoning himself to God in his crying out, "Into your hands I commit my spirit." Does God help us when we fall into our pits? Yes. By abandoning ourselves to Him, will God keep us out of pits in the first place? Absolutely. And so my message today is cry out to God when you're in your pits and abandon yourself to stay out of those pits in the first place. Thank you for joining the Daily Scripture Podcast. My name is Jerome Lavelle, and remember, our word of the day is abandon yourself. Stay out of life's pits. Until next time, be well and be blessed.